The Marlins can play spoiler against the Rangers this weekend.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I'm a diehard Marlins fan, and I've podcasted about the team for the last 4 seasons. You can find me on Twitter at Jeremiah Geiger2, and thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, leave a like, and leave a comment. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enough with boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5 Hour Energy shots. Go to 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. And on today's show, I'm going to preview the Marlins and the Rangers series. The Marlins have a great opportunity to go ruin the Rangers' playoff chances, play spoiler. And at this point in the season, I love being the spoiler. A new feature on the show, 40-man roster analysis. So I'm going to go look at the entirety of the 40-man roster and break it down by bullpen, the starting rotation, and position players, and do a rundown of all the players currently on the 40-man and give you my thoughts on each one. What that they provide to the team. Do they have a future with the Marlins? What's their role looking to be like in 2026? And for today's episode, we're going to start with the bullpen and break it all down. Let's start, though, with this Texas Rangers series. Now, the Marlins are playing really good baseball. Really good baseball. They've won 7 out of their last 8. They're coming off of a sweep against the Colorado Rockies on the road. And I know the Rockies aren't a very good team by any means, but the series right before that, they took 2 out of 3 from the division leading and World Series contending Texas Rangers. So, yeah, I like the Marlins' chances heading into this series against the Rangers, who just got swept on the road against Houston. So Texas is coming off of a road trip. They were at Citi Field against the Mets. They went to Houston, got swept, and now they come back home to face the Marlins. And what's right now, if you're a Rangers fan, this is almost do or die. This is a must-win series for the Rangers. And I like the Rangers, but I want to see the Marlins go out and play spoiler. I want to see the Marlins ruin the playoff hopes of the Rangers. Marlins don't really have anything left to play for. I know there's a theoretical, well, not even theoretical. It is possible. It's reality. There's a scenario in which the Marlins can make the playoffs, although it's so unlikely to happen. I don't want to spend too much time focusing on that because, I mean, you can look at the standings. You know what it is. The Marlins have four or 5 teams ahead of them. The Mets occupy that final spot, and then right behind them you have the Diamondbacks, the Giants, the Cardinals, the Reds. It would take a miracle for the Marlins to get into the playoffs and try to compete when they get there. Although once you get in the playoffs, that's all that matters. We've seen that before. 2023, the Diamondbacks get that 6th seed, that final playoff spot. They go on to represent the National League in the World Series. But for the Rangers, there's a heightened sense of urgency with their team. You look at the wild card standings, the division standings, the Astros and the Mariners are tied. And that's going to come down to the wire. They're tied for the division lead in the American League West. The wild card, Yankees lead the charge, and then you're going to have that whoever finishes second in the West is probably going to be that one of the wild card teams, either the second or third spot, depending how Boston does, who also occupies a spot. And on the outside looking in, you have the Guardians, who's a game and a half out, and the Rangers, who at 79 and 74, they've now lost 4 straight. They're 4 games back. So 4 straight losses for the Rangers at the worst time possible for them. Although they go back home, now in their minds, they're thinking, okay, this is a must-win series. This is a get-right series. The Marlins aren't very good. I'm sure Ranger fans aren't familiar with a ton of players on the Marlins' current roster. This is the perfect opportunity for Miami to swoop in, go into their house, and put the final nail in the coffin. I'm looking at the pitching matchups, and starting today on Friday, you have Jansen Junk versus Tyler Mahle, who's returning off of the injured list, who at the start of the season was pitching phenomenal. He dealt with an injury. He was out for an extended period of time. Reminds me kind of Ryan Weathers, and just, well, although Weathers pitched less than Mahle. Mahle, let's see here. How many games? Mahle pitched 14 games so far. So he's coming off of the injured list. He hasn't pitched since all the way back in June. So right around the time that Weathers got hurt as well, Tyler Mahle got hurt. He's making his return to the major leagues. And you have to wonder, will the Rangers, how will they use Tyler Mahle? Is he going to go 4 or 5 innings? Does he have a pitch count? Because these games matter. I know Mahle statistically was really good this season, but coming off of the injury, I expect Mahle to go 5 innings maximum. I don't see the Rangers pushing him, even though their season could ultimately come down to this series. There's a pitcher, Jacob Latz, for the Rangers, rather, who could be an option in bulk relief. I actually picked him up in my fantasy league because I'm in the championship round, and I'm trying to hold off my opponent. It's going to come down to the wire, but I picked up Jacob Latz in hopes that he would provide some bulk relief innings and get some points. But I digress. Marlins run out Jansen Junk, who had a good start his last time out. And then on Saturday, it's not clear who the Rangers are going to start. For the Marlins, you're going to have Adam Mazur. And Mazur is coming off of his start last week against, it was the Tigers last weekend, in which he went 6 shutout innings, just gave up 1 hit, or 6 innings with no earned runs. He did give up 2 runs, but they were unearned. He walked 2, he struck out 4. So he's going to be looking to replicate that success. And if the Marlins have good outings from Junk, from Mazur, they're going to put themselves in a position to win this game if the offense continues to hit like they hit up in Colorado. And I know Coors Field, that's an offensive ballpark. You go there to rake. You're going to score a lot of runs up there. I want to see that continue. Consistency. I don't want to see regression to where, a couple of weeks ago, the Marlins were playing good baseball offensively against the Mets. They go to the nation's capital and just get 2 hits, get shut out, and everything came crashing down that next series. That's not what has to happen here if the Marlins want to play spoiler, because they can't. And if the Marlins win this series, that essentially closes the door on Texas's postseason hopes. At the very minimum, it makes it extremely difficult to get in the postseason. And for the Marlins, if you're the Marlins, this is your first opportunity at playing spoiler, because next week you're going to have the Phillies. All right, Phillies are in the playoffs. It is what it is. And then you have the Mets. And there's that possibility that last series of the season, the Marlins could potentially knock out the Mets from postseason consideration, which would be so sweet, so awesome. Even if you don't get in yourself, ruin another team's chances. So, exciting series, a lot on the line for the Rangers. The Marlins stand in their way. Let's see what happens. 40-man roster analysis. I'm going to start with the bullpen, and we're going to go down the list. I'm going to give you my thoughts on each and every current bullpen arm on the Marlins roster. That's coming up right after this. This episode is brought to you by Zippix toothpicks. Whether you're looking for nicotine satisfaction or an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. It's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. I think it's pretty cool that we're in a society that has something called caffeine nicotine toothpicks. Can get you away from the urge to smoke. And the flavors, they got a ton of unique and interesting flavors. Peppermint watermelon ice is one that's very popular. And all in all, Zippix is perfect before those big meetings and long drives. Go to zippixtoothpicks.com. Use code locked on for 10% off your first order. You must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's zippixtoothpicks.com. Promo code locked on. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix toothpicks. This episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right means cashing in. And with football back, PrizePicks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes, all in less than 60 seconds. It's a great way to stay locked in to the season, no pun intended. And it's for your fantasy team. If you have, one of your favorite players, like I have Christian McCaffrey, maybe you have Jamar Chase, who I also want. I think he's still going to do well with Jake Browning. And if you think Jamar Chase is going to do well, then you can put some money on it and see what happens. And you can get some money that maybe you use for some new Marlins merchandise. This week's max discounts has Patrick Mahomes going for half a passing yard. I think that's safe to bet on. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I appreciate all the everyday listeners who tune into Locked On Marlins throughout the week. Can't do it without you guys. If you're new to the show, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. But shout out especially to all the everyday listeners. 40-man roster analysis. This is going to be fun. And I've dedicated 2 segments to this because I think it's going to take 2 segments at the minimum to get through the 40-man roster regarding the bullpen. I'm just going to go down the list. So if you want to follow along, if you're listening or you're watching the show, you can go to marlins.com, go to roster, go to the 40-man, and you can see where I'm going to be going with this. First pitcher, Lake Bacher. The Great Lake of Bacher, as I call him. He's had a interesting season in terms of his usage. So number one, Lake Bacher throws multiple pitches. He's not your standard 2-pitch reliever that it has a 98-mile-an-hour fastball and a slider. Like when I think of a high-leverage reliever, that's what I think of. I think of gas and a wipeout breaking ball. Bacher has 4 pitches that he can throw. The 4-seamer, the sweeper, the slider, and the split finger. I think that's a real cool addition to an arsenal that just makes him difficult to hit. He has the ability to pitch multiple innings. We've seen that this season. He'll go 2 innings. He'll go 2 2/3. I think his max pitch count in a single outing was somewhere around 50 a couple of months ago. He had a 46 pitch outing, a 52, a 40, a 34, couple 34s. He has stamina. He's not just a 1-inning guy. And overall, I would say he's been pretty effective. 49 games, 66 innings, 71 strikeouts, a 3.82 ERA. And his record, I know we live in a baseball world now that has evolved past like putting a ton of meaning on pitcher's record, but I think it's a cool note. He's 7-2. So a pretty positive season for Lake Bacher, who came out of nowhere, really came out of nowhere last season and has been reliable for Clayton McCullough and pitching coach Daniel Moscas. I think he's got a role on this team in 2026. Same kind of deal. He's going to get high leverage spots. He's going to get pockets against righties, but he's also good against lefties as well. I'm a Lake Bacher believer. Next pitcher, that we have to discuss is going to be Anthony Bender. And Anthony Bender is on the injured list, 60-day IL. His season is done. He hasn't pitched in a while. He was put on the IL right after, let's see here. It was about mid-August. His last appearance was against the Red Sox in August, but his ERA overall 2.16. He pitched in 51 games, 50 innings, 42 strikeouts. The big right-hander. I thought he was going to potentially get moved at the deadline. The Marlins held on to their bullpen arms in hopes of a potential playoff run. I think Bender, he's more of the prototypical reliever. He can reach 97, 98 with the fastball, and then he's got a wipeout frisbee sweeper. It's a sick pitch. If you're a pitching enthusiast, I think Bender, when he's healthy, is going to have another role in 2026, and hopefully beyond. We'll see what they do if they decide to move him at some point next year. But I like Anthony Bender. Valente Belloso, starter, middle reliever, sometimes just a reliever when Clayton McCullough decides to deploy him in high leverage situations. I don't think Belloso is a high leverage guy. He just doesn't have the stuff for it. I'm a Belloso fan. I root for him and his success. He'll throw the kitchen sink at you. He'll nibble on the edges. He's a finesse pitcher. Not necessarily a guy you want to see pitch meaningful innings in the bullpen. And that's just the reality of it. For Belloso, if he has a role on this team in 26, it's going to be, again, more of the same. Unless there's catastrophic injuries, he's not going to be in the rotation. He's going to be essentially in mop-up duty, middle relief, giving your guys an opportunity to rest when they're unavailable to throw that day. Calvin Fauché. One of my first episodes I ever did for Locked on Marlins before opening day, I thought Calvin Fauché had the chance to be an all-star closer. Wasn't exactly the case. 61 games, 57 2/3, 56 strikeouts, a 3.28 ERA. So overall, he was productive, but he never really established himself as the everyday closer. Ronnie Enriquez was used, Fauché, Bender, the Marlins used a lot of different pitchers to get their saves. Fauché did get 14 saves, 7 holds. He was a high leverage guy. But I don't know. I just feel like Fauché, for the most part, was inconsistent in big moments. There were some times when he just lost command of the strike zone. Now, recently, he's pitched a lot better. In his last 15 games, a 2.45 ERA, 14 2/3. He struck out 13 and just 2 walks. When Fauché gets into trouble, it's oftentimes because of his issues with command. It's going to be interesting to see how the Marlins handle this bullpen next season. Do you run back the same guys this year that you had this year heading into next year? Or is there going to be a trade this offseason? Fauché, I have tentatively circled as a player to watch getting moved this offseason, just because the Marlins do have bullpen arms in the minor leagues. That, like Josh White, for example, is a guy who could come in and immediately give you high leverage innings. There's a lot of mouths to feed in the bullpen as currently constructed as it is. Guys will get phased out. Guys will get optioned. They could get traded. This roster isn't going to look the exact same in 2026. Cade Gibson, the left-hander for the Marlins, made his major league debut. Actually had a pretty good year. He's not a strikeout pitcher, not necessarily a power arm, which is why I'm hesitant to circle him as somebody that you can truly rely on being one of your top left-handed relief pitchers. If there's an upgrade, you want to take it from the left-handed side. It didn't work out with Josh Simpson, but Gibson, 38 games, a 2.94 ERA, 49 innings, just 38 strikeouts. So he's more of a pitch to contact guy. And when you have these pitch to contact guys, I personally am just not much of a fan of deploying them in later innings. That's why you're not going to see Gibson get a ton of save opportunities, but he's valuable. He's effective for the most part, just not that power arm you like to see in the later innings in terms of velocity. Ronnie Enriquez. Ronnie Enriquez, was he the best Marlins find the last calendar year or since Peter Bendix has taken over? There's an argument that he has been. You have Otto Lopez, who's probably the betting favorite if you were to put some, go to FanDuel or put a betting line on this scenario. But Ronnie Enriquez has been awesome. He's been a workhorse, 67 and 2/3 innings. He's pitched in 65 games for the Fish, 91 strikeouts, an ERA of 2.39. I have no issues with Ronnie Enriquez. The only issue I had with him this season, they didn't use him enough. After the trade deadline, it's almost like he was phased out of the Marlins bullpen. They just wanted to protect him. They didn't want to overwork him. Thought he could have pitched more at crucial times, crucial junctures in the Marlins season. He is the one player on this list that would have my support as being named the closer for the Marlins. I think he has true ninth inning stuff, ninth inning mentality. Also, Tyler Phillips, we'll talk about him in the next segment. But Enriquez's stuff is better from that perspective. He's electric. Huge fastball. It's got a wipe out slider, secondary pitches. Enriquez is the real deal. And this was essentially his coming out season, just in terms of, hey, I'm here. I'm a major leaguer. Take me seriously. The Twins, they miss him. They miss him. But of course, he would have been traded at the deadline. I'm sure the Twins sold everybody. Let's move on, though. And coming up next, I'm going to continue starting with Tyler Phillips, who that guy's just a dog. Caffeine just got a flavor upgrade. 5-Hour Energy shots deliver tasty caffeine in 17 bold flavors. Each 2-ounce shot packs the caffeine of a premium 12-ounce cup of coffee, plus B vitamins and nutrients with 0 sugar and 0 crashes. One of the great parts of 5-Hour Energy, they're so portable. They got a big taste, but it's a tiny shot. You can take it anywhere and still get that boost whenever you need it. They're sugar-free, so you don't have to worry about a sugar crash. I love sugar-free products, especially with energy drinks. If it tastes flavorful and has no sugar, then it's a win-win in my book. So enough with the boring, flavorless caffeine. It's time to give your caffeine a flavor upgrade with 5-Hour Energy shots. Get the favorites you love, or if you want to be bold, you want to try something new, you can go to it in store, get something at the brick and mortar stores, or go online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon today. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching on the YouTube channel. And also remember that Locked On Marlins is wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, all the major podcast platforms. We're out there. Let's move on to Tyler Phillips. Tyler Phillips, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of Tyler Phillips, who started last season with the Philadelphia Phillies. Came over to the Marlins, didn't know much about him, but you found out very quickly when he got his opportunities to close games for the Fish. This guy's a dog. Runs out of the bullpen, smacking himself in the face. He's an absolute maniac. He's a psycho, and I love it. 50 games for Phillips, 73 and 2/3 innings, a 2.93 ERA. Now, here's the thing. 49 strikeouts. He doesn't strike out anybody. And yet, I love watching him pitch and think he can be a high leverage reliever for the Fish just because he wills himself to be that way. He's intimidating. He's a maniac. and he's been effective. The worrisome part, though, like I said, a strikeout per 9 ratio, 5.99. Under 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's very rare. Do you see that? I talked about that in the last segment with Bender. It was just like not necessarily a strikeout guy. Gibson the same way. Phillips, it's not like he's a soft tosser. He'll throw 95 miles an hour. It's just a pitch to contact. And it's not necessarily a problem. And maybe I'm just biased because, man, I really, really love his attitude on the mound. Phillips is that guy. He also runs an elite ground ball rate, which helps. 93rd percentile, 56% ground ball rate for Tyler Phillips. That'll play. You like to see that. Keep the ball on the ground. You get double plays. You're going to be utilized a lot. Christian Roa is in the minor leagues, got called up, is on the 40-man roster, and then sent back down. Disappointed in how the Marlins handled this situation. I wanted to see Christian Roa stay on the Marlins the rest of the way. I think there's some real upside with him. Electric arm, high 90s fastball. I just want to see him do it at the major league level. Great season for the Jumbo Shrimp. Josh Simpson. It didn't work out. It just didn't work out with Simpson, and I feel bad for him. He was one of the only lefties in the bullpen for the Fish, but in terms of production, he just doesn't have it. Struggles with command. He forced the Marlins' hand. He forced the Marlins' hand to just eventually option him to AAA. Now, I believe he's still currently on the Marlins. He was recalled a couple of weeks ago. It is what it is, but I've seen enough from Simpson. 27 and a third inning, 8.23 ERA. I've also seen enough of George Soriano. What does George Soriano provide to this organization that makes the Marlins give him chance after chance? He's horrible. Soriano is terrible. ERA over 9. There's a tweet I saw the other day where Soriano gave up a run. He gave up a homer in Colorado because of course he did. And in just that one inning and giving up an earned run, his ERA went down. That tells you how bad he is. He's not good. He was good a couple of years ago when the Marlins made on their postseason run. But he's the guy that you put in a game when it's 8-0 and you don't want to throw Javier Sanoja in the game, who, by the way, should maybe get featured on this because he's pitched multiple times in relief in mop-up duty. Soriano is a mop-up guy. I would be shocked if Soriano is pitching for the Marlins in 2026. They got to move on from him. They have to. There's no other choice. Freddie Tarnok. Tarnok's on the injured list currently. Kind of feel bad for him because he was going up and down, up and down, up and down. You know, maybe gets an inning when they need an inning, and then they immediately send him back down. Interesting arm. I believe he was part of the Matt Olson trade. He was part of a trade between the Braves and the A's. I'm trying to find it right here. It's definitely, I think he was sent from the A's to the Braves. Anyway, hasn't really worked out for him. He's a guy that, could start in the minor leagues. He was a starter. Now he's just kind of being phased into a reliever, long reliever, could spot start theoretically. I think the upside's very limited with Freddie Tarnok and what he provides to the Marlins moving forward. It'll be interesting to see if he stays in the organization in 26. I think he does and will be deployed mainly in AAA. The bullets will be fired there, not at Lone Depot Park for Freddie Tarnok. Jesus Tinoco, he's going to finish the season on the injured list. Up and down season for him. Didn't go as he planned. He got some closing opportunities early on, but ultimately in 20 games, he had an ERA over 5. Again, dealt with an injury that was season ending. Last year, he was solid for the Fish in a small sample size, 26 2/3, ERA of 2. So there was some high expectations, elevated expectations for him. But for Tinoco in 26, it's hard to see him carve out a meaningful role. Last pitcher on the 40-man that we're going to discuss today is Tyler Zuber. It's also on the injured list. And Zuber is just Tyler Zuber. He gave up a lot of runs in his short stint with the Marlins when he was healthy. 12 innings. He gave up 13 earned runs. Not the biggest Tyler Zuber fan, but the Marlins were patching things together at some points in August. They just needed innings, and they weren't ready to give Josh White an opportunity. There's some guys in the minor leagues who we'll discuss at further times that deserve opportunities, like Christian Roa. I think could have been a better option than Zuber, but what can you do? I'm not the front office. So that was the bullpen breakdown of the current guys on the 40-man roster. We're out of time, so I'm going to wrap it up right here. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Until next time, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.